All right. Hello, class. My name is Bill Sweeney, and I'd like to welcome you to DES-243 Layout Design. I will be your instructor. I went through the role and I looked at all the students, and I didn't actually recognize anybody as people who might have been in other classes of mine. So if you had been in one of my classes in the past, please let me know. Like I said, I just didn't recognize anybody in there. I also am often in Blackboard, so you might have come into Blackboard and I might have helped you in Blackboard. If that's the case, let me know that as well. Anyway, we'll be together for the next 4 weeks, and I thought what I would do is I would begin by I turned the actual video on for a few moments so that you could see my ugly face, and that would be one way to start off, give you a sense of who I am. I will be teaching another live session tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for 2 hours, 9 to 10, 10 to 11. Now, unfortunately, the reason it's 9 to 11 is because I have a couple of things to do later on in the day, and I like to do my classes, my live sessions, early as I can during the week so that you have as much time as possible to go over my recordings. Those people who aren't here, go over my recordings and see what I'm doing. So that it makes it easier for you to work. Now, this is a 200 level class, so my guess would be that you have some experience with Adobe InDesign, which is primarily what we're going to be working with in this course. However, because it is a print layout course primarily, I mean, what we're going to be doing, I've actually got the learning objectives. What I did was I copied this off of the site because I wanted to highlight something, and I was told not to highlight it in the course, so I copied them and I've highlighted them. What I'm getting at is that this is a layout course which is primarily focused on print. So one of the things, or two of the things, that we are going to be dealing with when we create this, and the project, by the way, is going to be an 8-page magazine layout. That's essentially what this is going to be. When you create any kind of a print project and you're working with multiple objects such as type, and you're working with pictures, and you're working with graphics, you have to have the right file formats for pictures, and you have to have the right file formats for graphics. So we actually have a couple of graphics that we will be using in this project, and they're supplied to us, and you'll find them in a folder that you can download. I've downloaded them, and before the end of the night tonight, I'll probably go over that, and you can take a look at what they are, and I'll explain how I want you to deal with them, and I'll explain why I want you to deal with them that way. There's also photos that we've been supplied, and it is going to be your responsibility to utilize those photos in the layout that you create. And since you want to be designers, and since you're learning print, you have to know the correct way to process those photos. You can't just throw any old photo any old way into a print layout. It's very important that you understand how to go about doing it. So one of the things that I will be covering tonight is how to prepare your photos. Again, you have photos, they've been supplied to you. There are also links. One of the links is in, I believe, with my copy here, and the copy on your assignment instructions at the very bottom, you'll see a link where you can go in and you can get yourself some photos to help support your layout if you want them. And I went online and I found you another link. So there's actually 2 links that you can utilize to get some photos. And I'm going to try either before the end of the night tonight or tomorrow morning in my second session to show you both of those sites and give you an idea of how I got a couple of the images that I got. Because I did go into those sites and I did find myself a couple of extra photos. Whenever you're working on a thing like this, it's always better to have more material than less material. I found that they actually did a pretty good job with the copy on this, fitting it so that it's enough that it gives you what you need to do. So it's not going to be something that's going to give you a lot of trouble. One other thing I wanted to mention to you, and I'm going to go over this next, I think, or if I don't do it next, I'll be doing it very soon. They also supplied you with a couple of document files of copy that you're going to use when you create your layouts. Okay. Now, if you look on my screen here, you'll see it says the parts you will create. That's down below the learning objectives and in the explanation of the assignment. You'll see it in bold, the parts you will create. The editorial piece, it's 1 plus partial page. It's on the inside front cover and the inside back cover. That's week 1, this week. That's what you're expected to produce this week. Don't worry about anything else. Primarily, worry about that. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you, I will show you how I created an entire project. I'll show you what I did for the entire project. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over as much as I possibly can of how I put together my project. I'm hoping that you have some experience with InDesign, and it will make it a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to shut the mic off, or shut the video off right now. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Okay, now, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to read a little bit of the instructions that I have here. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, let me go back to the week 1 discussion. So in the week 1 discussion, what you're going to do is you're going to do, I guess you would call it a comparison, a comparison of web to print design. So as publications move from traditional print to web, the way a page or spread is designed can change drastically. Discuss the similarities that both types of design possess. Then discuss what differences must exist based on application, print versus web. Don't forget your citations and references, and links and images are also very welcome. It's very important for you to understand, you guys are graphic designers. Think visually. Present your information visually. Always find opportunities to put some sort of visual into your topics. It makes for a much more interesting presentation, and it gives me a basis to give you a better grade. In addition, post an example of a traditional magazine layout and also post a layout from an online source. So again, this is actually requiring it. Be careful to remember to do this. If they ask for it, do it. It's expected. Compare and contrast your 2 examples. So in other words, what you're going to do is you're going to discuss very briefly what's the difference between the print layout and the web layout that you are demonstrating or showing. Now it says here it's due by Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, end of week, 1 to 60 points for this. But let me explain something to you. When you do a discussion, you can't just wait until Saturday to put in your main topic and your 2 replies. You are expected to put in a main topic no later than midweek, which means by the end of the day, Wednesday, you need to have your main topic in. If your main topic is not in, you're going to lose significant points for that. Also, don't wait until, and I'm asking you this, please don't wait to the end of the week to put in your 2 replies. This is supposed to be a discussion, and a discussion means that we go out of our way to talk to one another, to discuss things with one another. And part of the responsibility that you have is to come in for a few minutes, through the course of the week and pick a topic that somebody has put in there and discuss it with them. That's really what this is all about. And if you wait until the very last minute, you won't lose a tremendous amount of points, but you really aren't participating in the discussion. So I'm asking you, please come in during the week. Make sure you get your main topic in no later than Wednesday, and make sure that you come in and talk to your fellow students about their discussions. Now, I'm not going to go to the trouble of reading mine, but I'm just going to sort of scroll down and show you that I have already come in and I have already put my topic in. Here's my topic. You can see it for yourself and you can read it for yourself, and you can see that I did a pretty oh, there's somebody's there. Caitlin has got hers in there too. Great. Okay, so somebody's already producing for me. I think that's wonderful. Thank you, Caitlin. That's great. I love it. At any rate, I mean, you can see that I went in and did it. I know I'm the instructor and everything, but let me tell you something. When it really comes down to it, I mean, I participate in this course as much as you do. I mean, the only thing I don't do is we have quizzes, like this week your assessment is going to be a quiz. I mean, I really don't do that assessment, but what I do is I come in here and I do my, well, I also did my, not only did I do my week 1 discussion, but I did my introduce myself discussion. You're supposed to do that as well. My point is that as your instructor, I'm doing almost as much work as you're doing, because the bottom line is I do both discussions. I put content in both discussions, and I try to put it in as required. I mean, I have citations and I have references and I have examples. So I'm doing the same work that you're doing. If I can do it, you can certainly do it. I mean, it's not that difficult to do, and you get 60 points if you do it and if you do it properly. Just so that you understand this, in the assignments, I actually did the assignment so that I can actually demonstrate the assignment for you. So, I mean, really, and it is really one of the assignments. There's 3 different, I think there's 3 different topics you can choose. I picked one of the topics and I built something, you know, based on that assignment. So again, I'm just letting you know that every time I have a course with you, or anybody for that matter, I'm doing just as much work in the course as you're doing. I actually come in and I do the assignment just like you. So I can kind of go back in and what do they call it? Deconstruct it for you. All right. So I just want to mention that to you, because again, I don't want you to think that, you know, I'm somebody sitting up on high and I don't do anything. Let me put it this way. I do just as much work as you. And then on top of the work that I do that way, I also grade all of your work. Okay. So you have to understand, I do the work. I know what the work entails. I demonstrate the work. I show you what you should be doing. And the things that I look for when I grade your work is how well you have gone in and paid attention to the things that I demonstrated and expect to see. Like, for instance, tonight I'm going to show you about pictures. I'm going to discuss graphics that go into this. I'm also going to talk about the text that we receive for our projects. So, you know, again, I'm going to be discussing all these things, and I'm doing it because I'm going to expect to see you doing what I show you, because the truth of the matter is, in order to work with print, you have to have the right file formats for the projects that you're working on. If you're working on something for the web, you have to have the right file formats for that too. So these things are very important, and it's my responsibility to impress that upon you. That's what I'm going to try to do, and I hope I do it well. I'd like to hear from you anytime you have a question or anytime you want to share your thoughts. You know, feel free to send me an email. I am also open to you coming to me and phoning me up. I will speak to you if you call me up, if I can. If I can't, I'll get your number, or I'll tell you I can't speak right now, but I'll call you back. And the other thing is, if you go into my announcements, one thing I just want to very quickly touch on, if you go into my announcements here, I've given you an additional link for free images, which I'll probably either show you later tonight or tomorrow morning. This gives you the information about your learning coach. We have a learning coach. His name is DJ, and he is another person that you could contact, as well as myself, to get help in this course. This is information about live sessions, and basically what it says is if you come to the live session and you can put yourself in a quiet environment where you have no noise in the background, I allow you to turn your mics on so that you can speak directly with me through the live session. Okay, and then of course right here are my hours of availability in Blackboard. I hope by now you are all familiar with Blackboard, and Blackboard will basically be where you can find me on Wednesday evenings between 7 and 11 p.m. Mountain Time, and on Friday morning from 9 o'clock until 1, I believe it is, 9 to 1. Is that right? 9 to 1? 12, yeah, I believe so. 9 to 1 Mountain Time, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Fridays, and Saturday nights from 7 o'clock until 12 o'clock Mountain Time. So, you know, feel free to come in for whatever reason you might have. You just want to say hi, you want to come in, you need a little help, you need an explanation on something, you'd like a critique, whatever, you know, just come in and I welcome you. So that's pretty much that. Let's get back to our learning objectives. Let's just cover this real quickly. So what we're trying to do here primarily is to identify and implement some of the advanced tools for formatting text over multiple pages. When you work in InDesign, it is a layout program. It's a combination program where you can work with bitmaps and you can work with vector elements. You can also work with text, color, and shape and things like this. But it is a layout program. I mean, you don't build logos in it. You don't do illustrations in it. You don't modify photos in it. All of these things you do in Illustrator or Photoshop. When you get into InDesign, it's a layout program. So it's very important for you as graphic designers to be aware that you're going to be expected to be working with the kind of programs that are required to you to do the type of job that you need to do. So again, if you're working on a logo, say, that should be done in Adobe Illustrator. If you are modifying photographs, either making a montage of a photograph, or if you're, say, color correcting or adjusting photos, that's done in Photoshop. If you're creating a trifold brochure or a business card, a postcard, booklet, magazine, whatever, that's something that's laid out. Poster, that's all laid out in Adobe InDesign. If you are building websites, web pages, that's something that would be done either in Muse or in Dreamweaver. So again, this all comes down to you growing to understand your role as a graphic designer and what is the proper tools for you to do the kind of work that you're going to be expected to do. So that's really where we're going with this. You're going to conceptualize and develop a cohesive magazine design for multiple types of content, which is what I was just discussing. And again, you know, we're talking about copy, we're talking about photographs, and we're also talking about vector graphics. In this particular case, there's a, I'm going to call it a logo, but it's more of a banner. It's more of a masthead is what it is. And again, the important thing for you to understand here is that you are given Adobe Illustrator files for that masthead. You are given JPEGs for those images. They are not ready to go into this publication. It's your responsibility to make them ready. It's my responsibility to show you, which I will do tonight, what I expect you to do to make them ready and explain to you why you're doing it. And that's part of the learning that takes place here, okay? One thing I will say is, if you have the right frame of mind on this, and if you really enjoy being a graphic designer, which I hope you do, I think you're going to find that this is not a terribly hard thing to do, and it's not something that's awful to do. As a matter of fact, it's fun and very creative. And I've done some stuff in here that I hope will make you feel excited when you see me do it and open your mind up to some of the possibilities that exist for you. Again, I have no idea what experience you have with InDesign prior to me, but there are things which cover the material that I'm supposed to cover, and then there's a few things I kind of throw in there just to give you a little bit of a taste of things to come, okay? I don't expect you to copy my design. I don't expect you to just do whatever it is I'm doing and copy it and submit it to me. I expect you to do your own thing. I really do. At the same time, in order for me to demonstrate what you were supposed to do, I had to come up with a design. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the process as much as I can in the limited time I have, which is approximately 2 hours tonight, 2 hours tomorrow. I'm going to walk through as much as I can of how I produce this and give you an idea of what you should be doing, hopefully making it easier for you to actually go ahead and do it. All right? So, over the next 4 weeks of this mod, you will design and create a magazine using InDesign. The scenario you will be working through is a typical scenario, designing and creating a magazine in real world. Well, you know, again, this is a section of a magazine. It's 8 pages. You know yourself, magazines are far more involved than 8 pages. But I believe you're going to find what you are going to be working on very similar in reality to what you would be doing with the magazine if you were working on a full-size magazine, or if you were working on a complete magazine instead of just an 8-page section of the magazine. So I don't want you to struggle with that. I just want you to understand that we're working on 8 pages, and we're going to integrate those 8 pages in the same sort of way that one would integrate a real magazine. And again, have fun with it. I started off, and you'll see I actually built and modified a couple of things as I went along, because I started looking at it and was not happy with what I did. So again, it's be creative. This is really a chance for you to show some creativity, but base your creativity on the proper way of approaching this, which is what I'm going to try to show you. All right. Let's see here. So yeah, learning and using the power of InDesign tools to format, change, and update many pages at once. We'll incorporate master pages, style sheets, grids, just a key benefit to working on large multi-page documents of any type, not just magazines. And that's very true. All those things come in handy when you're working on most anything that you're working on. Of course, if you're working on something like a postcard or something like that, or a product sheet, you know, I'm not saying that style sheets are not valuable, but style sheets are more valuable when you're working on a more comprehensive, or I should say a larger format project than something smaller. Grids are always good, and I'm going to show you three different areas where you can incorporate elements into a gridding system. Master pages, what I did in this particular case is I formatted page numbers and a couple of little bits of copy using master pages so that they would appear on a selection of pages. And primarily, by now, if you've had any courses in InDesign, you should have a sense of what a master page is really for. Master page enables you to take an element, any element that you would want, and apply it to a number of pages. That's primarily what the benefit of a master page is. And what makes that important is if you're putting elements on many different pages, you really want them to appear in the exact same position on all those pages. By applying and utilizing a master page, you are guaranteed that that will happen. And interestingly enough, since we are talking a little bit about InDesign as well, I'm sorry, about web design as well, if you're familiar with Adobe Muse, you actually have the ability to work with master pages in Adobe Muse, which is something that I wanted to mention to you because we are talking a little bit about comparisons of web design to print design, and it is kind of important to let you know that a program like Muse, which I think suggests the use of InDesign, has the ability to apply elements using a master page. All right, so that brings me to the parts you will create. Now, you'll notice that I have highlighted week 1 here. And the reason I did that is because I really wanted to impress upon you guys that it's important for you, while you're somewhat thinking about the larger picture, the big picture, it's very important for you to focus on what your responsibilities are for each individual week. The best way to approach this without getting overwhelmed by it is to focus on what you have to do in any given week. So week 1, you have an editorial piece. It amounts to 1 plus 1/2 page, or 1 plus a partial page. That's what it is. So it's going to be, and this is important, the inside front cover, IFC, stands for inside front cover, and the /IBC stands for the inside back cover. So really, you're going to see in a minute what I'm talking about because I've done it, and we're going to go over what I did. I'm going to explain it, and I'm going to demonstrate a bunch of it tonight, and I'm going to work on more of it tomorrow, okay? Now, I just want to get you a sense of where you're heading with this. Then you have week 2. You're going to do a feature spread. Now, this is the biggest part of your project. You've got 4 pages that you got to do here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a series of photos, some copy, and what else? I think that's it. Photos and copy, and you're going to divide them up over the course of 4 individual pages. And since it is a feature spread, what it is it's one continuous piece. So you have to establish a sense of formatting for that. And your formatting probably should be somewhat different than your editorial piece so that they differentiate themselves from each other. And as I say, you're going to run over the course of 4 pages. I'm going to show you, before I really get rolling tonight, I'm going to show you my full project, what I did, my front cover, my editorial piece, front and back page, and my feature spread, and my back cover, which I'll get to in a second. So then that's week 2, 4 pages. And again, as I say, don't even think about that right now. Focus on your inside front cover and your back cover editorial piece this week, and I'm going to be working on that with you. Then week 3 is a full page ad, so back cover is going to be a full page ad. So I've also created that. Now that back cover full page ad, I actually went in and I created that in Adobe Photoshop, and I'm going to show you what I did, and I'm going to explain a little bit of that. But again, that's not until week 3, and I don't want you to necessarily worry about that right now. But just so that you understand, I could have very easily have created my full page ad in Adobe InDesign. The reason I chose to do it in Adobe Photoshop is because from a technical standpoint, it gave me the opportunity, Photoshop gave me the opportunity to be a good bit more creative with the type that I chose to use. And I think you'll see what I'm talking about week 3 when I show you what I did. All right? And then you are going to do the week 4, you're going to do the cover, which is obviously your cover page, the front page, and then the table of contents, which is the balance of the inside front cover. So that's basically it. Now, for this week, you will be designing your editorial piece, But like with any magazine, it is organized into sections, and each section, while it has its own theme, the sections have a similar thread that ties the entire magazine branding together. So what that means essentially is your editorial piece is going to be different from your feature spread. They're going to be different, but at the same time, they're not going to be outlandishly different. They're going to share some similarity, and there's going to be some consistency that you'll establish with this, but they should differentiate from one another. Very important that you understand that. And what they're saying, the similar thread that ties the entire magazine branding together, well, what I did, I'll show you, is again, I've numbered the pages, and I've numbered it the way that I wanted to number it, and I've included some copy along with that. Starting with a strong concept, direction, and grid will make building the rest of the pieces for your magazine all that much easier. So I'm going to show you what I did with the baseline grid, and part of the grid that they're talking about here involves your margins, your columns, and some of the guides that you can pull out, vertical or horizontal guides, along with your baseline grid. So those three elements right there combined gives you a very powerful group of objects that you can use to grid out your page and establish a framework for you to bring your copy in and apply, and bring your pictures in and apply to, and then place your images from vector files. All right? And so here they've given you a couple of links. Now again, I've copied this, as I told you. This is from the assignment page. So I've copied this. So these actually are links that you could go in and take a look at examples of. Again, you go ahead and do that. All right. And this is the assignment instructions in general. All right. So what we'll do, and we're going to do this first, we'll create an 8-page document, 8.5 by 11, with facing pages in InDesign. That's the first thing. We're going to set up some master page, and we're going to establish a couple of repeating elements for the pages, if not all of the pages. In my case, I did not establish my master page for repeating elements on every page. I had a way that I wanted to do it. And you're entitled to do that. As long as you employ the master page in some way, you'll be fine. You'll set up a workable grid that your articles will adhere to. And again, you could do that by virtue of doing a baseline grid, combining a baseline grid with columns, and then using the pull-down grids from your rulers. The three elements together will establish for you a workable grid. You're going to create some paragraph and character styles. Personally, I don't use character styles very often. The reason I choose not to use character styles quite as much is because you get more bang for your buck out of a paragraph style. I'll put it to you this way, and I'll try to say this as easily as I can. Character styles will only allow you to use character formatting. Paragraph styles will allow you to use both character formatting and paragraph formatting. Most of the time, I find myself wanting to employ both character and paragraph formatting. So in order to do that most effectively, I tend to pitch towards paragraph styles more than character styles. If I'm going to do something extremely simple, like maybe just change a weight of something or change a color of something, then yeah, okay, I might do that as a character style. But the basis of all the work that I do mostly involves paragraph styles. Not saying that's the way you should work. I'm saying that's the way I work. All right, and we're going to apply these either character or paragraph style combinations to headings, subheadings, pull quotes, which you're going to have to create at least one of, and of course your body copy. All right, now this is where we start talking a little bit about what we're going to be working on tonight. So on page 2 will be your inside front cover. You'll start your editorial page. You'll have to keep in mind that on week 4, I believe it is, you're going to be adding your table of contents to that area. So what you have to do is you have to remember that you're going to incorporate a table of contents in week 4 to page 2 above your editorial. So we're going to leave a blank space for that. I'm going to actually show you what my TOC, my table of contents, looks like when we begin. Then I'm going to hide it and give you a better idea of what you're going to be supplying me with week 1. You need to determine how much room you will need for your table of contents and editorial based on your design ideas. I'm going to show you how I did mine. You can try something else, or you could go and do something similar to mine. Like I said, I don't want you to copy me directly. You can utilize certain things that I did in terms of the way I lay my thing out. I have no problem with that. But I don't want you to just basically try to emulate what I did 100%. I'd like you to put your own spin on things. Mine is as much of an example as yours is, and it's not the only way it can be done. All right, so right now, week 1, you're going to leave the area for the TOC, table of contents, empty, okay? You'll add them in week 4. You're only designing the editorial for week 1. Very important, all right? And, of course, all this other stuff here, I'm not going to get into. You have to use all the copy provided for your editorial. Of course, that makes sense. I mean, you're not getting that much copy, and it'll work. All the images provided for the editorial. There are several images that are provided for this editorial. I am going to go over how I want you to prepare those images for this particular project, and I'm going to explain why I expect you to do this, and hopefully that will make sense to you, and then you'll understand that this is something that you should always do. And you can go and find more images if you want. As a matter of fact, I might have. I don't remember whether I did or I didn't on the editorial. I don't really remember. But anyway, you can if you want. You're going to create one pull quote, which I did, and I'll show you that as well. So here's your submission instructions here. All right, so for me, you're going to submit a PDF of just pages 2 and 7, inside front cover, inside back cover. And of course, what you're going to do is you're going to name it, and it's DES-243 with the assignment 1, and then your name. The file shouldn't be any larger than 3 megs. Be sure to keep the original InDesign file as you will continue to build the rest of the pages in this document. Very important that you do that. Keep that original file because you're going to build on it, okay? And then, of course, I've already been talking about this, but there's some acronyms here: table of content, TOC, IBC, inside back cover, IFC, inside front cover. All right, and then you have a choice of 3 different magazines. I grade these 2 out only because I wanted to highlight the fact that the one that I built was the Main Ingredients magazine. It's a magazine on food. The feature article is on fresh herbs and creating delicious meals with them. The editorial is about mindful eating, which discusses healthful eating habits, which I think relates really good with fresh herbs. So like I say, I chose this. I am going to show you my, my creation in a little bit. Let's go a little further down. So magazine source files. Here's the important stuff that you need to understand. Each source file includes the following: the magazine flag, which is essentially a logo for the magazine or the magazine name. It goes on the front cover, okay? A list of articles for the TOC and possible content for the cover. That's in week 4. Editorial piece, copy, and now this is telling you essentially what's there. The editorial piece, copy, and 2 high-res images for week 1. So really, this guy right here, just let me do this right there. That's the one I want you to pay most attention to right there, because that's what you're going to be working on this week. So we know that we are going to have an editorial piece that has copy and 2 high-resolution images for this week that you have to deal with, okay? Then, of course, you got your feature spread for next week, which will be copy and 4 high-res images. And by the way, just so that you understand, what we do with the copy tonight and what we do with the 2 high-res images tonight, you're going to have to do the same thing with these images because they're all supplied to you the same way. And as I say, the professional way of handling this. There's a correct way of handling this, and I'm here to teach you these correct ways of handling these things. That's part of what you're going to learn with me. It's very important. So week 3, why no week 3? You'll be creating everything yourself for the full page ad. So essentially, you're going to have the ability to go in and pretty much create whatever you want to create for that full page ad. I'm going to show you what I created. I'll probably discuss it with you as much as I can, as best I can, and then you're going to take it and you're going to fly with it. Have fun. I enjoyed doing what I did. I had a lot of fun doing it. I mean, I did this just like I told you, you guys do. I enjoyed doing it. Did I enjoy everything about it? No, I don't entirely enjoy doing it because, you know, I've done so many of these things, but I do it because it helps me to get a better sense of what you're going to be doing and makes it easier for me to discuss the project with you because I've actually done it and I know where it's heading. All right. All right. So what I want to do here right now is I want to bring you to this stock exchange. I'm clicking on this and it's going to open up my browser. Okay, so here's the stock exchange. This is where you can go to get some free images. After we get done here, I'm going to take you back into my announcements and I'm going to show you the place that I went to find the free images. So what I did basically here was I went in and I looked up HERBS, herbs, okay? So cooking herbs, okay? So there's 116 free photos of cooking herbs. Herbs, there's 365 free photos of herbs. So you know what, just for the heck of it, because again, I'm just trying to show you this a little bit, I'm going to click on cooking herbs. And here we go. So now what you got is, you got all sorts of pictures of cooking herbs that you can work with here. So if you don't feel, and I use some of these. I think I might have used this one right here. Let's see what else. I'll go down a little bit more. I might have used that one. Let's see. I think I might have used that one. Yeah, I think I did that one and maybe that one and that one. So I downloaded these. I don't know whether I used all of them, but I downloaded all of these from here. Okay. So I just want you to know this is actually pretty good. I mean, they got some really nice stuff in here. And depending upon how you want to go with this, I mean, you don't have to do what I did. You can approach this from another angle. I just went at it from a particular thought process, my thought process. All right. So, but I just want you to know it's very easy to download these things. They're free. That's why you're being given it right here. Look, this comes right from the school. Okay, so that's very important. I'm going to close this now because I'm done with it, and I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go back to my announcements, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to open up my announcement where I show you this right here, which is my royalty-free images. And I'm clicking, and right here we go. Okay, so I'm going to search for, in this one, I'm going to search for steaks. And let's see what we come up with. There we go. Okay, so I think one of the things that I did was I looked for images of steaks. So again, these are free photos, and you have the link. You can use this as a resource as well. I don't remember exactly which one I used at this point, but I used an image or two out of here. My point is that the instructions are for you to go in and use images that are legal for you to use. So they supplied you with a link. I supplied you with a link. You now have two. All of these are royalty-free photos. They are okay for you to use. That's why I'm making a big stink about talking with you about them, so that you actually know where we're going with this. Okay? All right, so that's pretty much it at this point. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into InDesign for a second, and I'm going to get started by taking a look at my project. So this is I can't show you all of it, but first of all, this is my page. This is my page panel. And as you can see up here, I have a none and I have an A master. And if I click on my A master, I bring this up. Those are my master elements, all right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to, at some point, build this again for you. But I'm just quickly showing you what I did for week 1, which is what you're going to be doing and what I'm going to be discussing with you tonight and tomorrow. All right, so that means that on page 2 and on page 7, page 2 being the inside front cover and page 7 being the inside back cover, that being the front cover, that being the back cover, and this being your 1, 2, 3, 4-page spread, there's your 8-page book, okay? So before I actually move into this and talk about what I did in here, I just wanted to point out to you that if you take a look, I'm on a spread here, right? That's what this master shows. It shows a spread. I did not put any master elements. This is my choice as a creative person from a creative design standpoint. It was my choice to not have anything on the master page on the left-hand side. What I chose to do for my creative thought was to come in and put the issue, which is November of 2017, and the page number on the right-hand page. So if I go to page 2 and 3, there is no November and page number on the left, but there is the November and the page number, page 3, on the right. If I go to 4 and 5, nothing on the left, November 2017, page 5. If I go to 6, 7, November 2017, page 17. Back page, nothing. Okay? So it's very important for you to understand that that's a proper use of a master page. Why? Because I have an element, or actually in my case, 2 elements that are going to appear on a series of pages through my booklet. So that is why I did what I did. That is the absolute least I would expect to see you do for your master page. Okay? And as far as a master page is concerned, well, I'm actually going to redo this for you shortly, so I'll let it go at that. Now, up here, right here, I'm going to close this for a second. Right here is your table of contents. Now, as I told you, I have my table of contents. Let me see if I did it on this one. I did. And actually, I didn't get all of it correct. I'm going to take this thing here, and I'm going to move it down to here. Okay? Get that down. Oops, locked. Let me move that down to here. There we go. Now I can hide my table of contents. You're not going to be doing this. I just did this, okay, because I wanted to show you sort of what you're going to do and give you an idea of what you're accomplishing here and what you have to prepare for, okay? Now, what I did was I'm going to go to 3-column Alt. Look at this. After I got done, I'll deselect that. After I got done with this, which I looked at the black and I thought, well, it's dramatic, but it's really not all that, you know, it doesn't really relate to food or herbs or anything like that. It's, you know, I just didn't think it was enough. So I went in and I found another picture. One of those 2 sites, I found this nice picture that shows herbs over here and a knife over there, and it gave me just enough nice open space in the middle that I could put my table of contents. See that element right there? That is your main logo or your banner. That is the cover, your piece of art for your cover. I also decided what I would do is I would incorporate that into the table of content area, and I also put November 2017 up there. I've kind of secreted it up in that upper corner. But basically, that top area right there, you have to allow that much space. So when I get rolling on this, I'll give you some ideas as to how I did that, and we'll talk about how I did the rest of this. Oh, and by the way, I want you to really understand how important layers are to this whole thing. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers here. I have a background layer, which I use somewhere else. I'm not really using it on these 2 pages, but you should put it there. I have a guide layer. The reason that I have a guide layer is because I wanted to show you what this looks like. Well, before I do that, I have to go into my go to my view menu and come down to screen mode, and I have to go back to normal because right now I'm in preview mode. Okay, I'm going to go to normal. There's my guides. Now watch what happens when I hide these layers. Okay, you're not seeing the baseline grid because we're at a viewpoint where you won't be able to see it. But you'll notice that I have a three-column grid set up this way. And you'll notice that I got a number of guides here. And you can set up guides two ways. By dragging a guide out here, you can create a guide that goes off across the entire spread. By dragging a guide here onto the page, you get a guide that goes only across that page. I'm mentioning that to you right now, but I'll show you that in a little bit, okay? The other thing that you have to understand is you have the ability to change the margin area and the columns and the gutter anytime you want. All right, so if I start off with 6 columns and I decide after I get that thing built that in that size format, 6 columns just doesn't make any sense. It's very easy for me to go in and change it to 3, which is what I'm going to do to show you that. Okay, a lot of flexibility here, a lot of things that you could work with once you get comfortable with it. You got a good measure of control, and creatively you can change things as you want. As a matter of fact, in this magazine, if you wanted to have one of your articles with a 3-column format, you can. If you want one with a 2-column format, you could do that as well. As a matter of fact, if I go back up here, you can see that my table of content area is 2 larger columns, and I don't even have them aligning to a particular column. I have violated the 2 columns and have placed them side by side, filling up the center space. So from a creative standpoint, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, that's a creative approach that you can take. Now here, on the other hand, I have 3 columns and my copy fits nicely through that 3 columns. I have a continuation here, which means essentially if I go into my layout and I click on the spread 6 and 7, there on page 7, I put 3 photos across the top, and I have the rest of my copy flowing on page 7. Okay? So basically, there's my layout. Really simple, and, you know, there you have it. All right? Oh, there's my pull quote. All right, and each one of these things, this area here, I made a paragraph style for. This I made a paragraph style for. This I made a paragraph style for. I actually made paragraph styles for these subheads and for these signatures, these by lines. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to have space before and space after. And you can't have space before or space after on a character style, because it's a paragraph formatting. So I've actually made paragraph, and that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. I use a lot of paragraph styles because basically they're more versatile. You can do more with it. Okay, I just want to very quickly come in and show you my entire project. Let me open this up and let me move this over a little bit. Okay, so here is there's page 2, there's page 3. You can see I've done a specific treatment with the headline. I used a subhead which mirrors. It's not exactly the same because it's a little bit bigger, but it mirrors the look of my pull quote over here. I've done some nice ragging with these pieces of art that I've used here. You can see how I came in and did an interesting little rag. I'm going to show you how I did that, and I hope you'll like it. It's kind of a cool little thing that I know how to do that you'll probably learn from me. Also, I'll show it to you. And all right, so then we go to 4 and 5. Here's 4 and 5. I have to move this over so you can see it. And again, see, you can see what I did. I've ragged this copy around this element, and there's a very tricky little way that I've done that I think you'll like. And then I did the same thing up here where I've actually ragged the copy around that picture. Okay, I've placed a piece of steak on this, and I'm going to go to, let's see, what we have 5 here. This is my back page. There's my back page. There's my ad. And you can see what I did here is I played around with the background and I played around with the type so that it kind of melds together with that background flame. Can't do something like that in InDesign, so that's something that's got to be done in Photoshop. So that's really why I did this particular ad in Photoshop, for that reason. And then, of course, here's my front cover. And there is your masthead, your banner for the front cover. And then it's the magazine of Good Living, the November issue. There are my featured articles, and I even threw in a barcode, knowing that a lot of times these magazines will have a barcode on the front cover to ease or quickly make it possible to sell the publication. So there's my particular piece finished. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want to get into any more of a discussion at this point with it. This one here is pretty much the same as the other one here. The only difference is that this guy, you know, has this nicer top. That's the only difference. If you looked at both of these pages, they're the same. Everything that's going on is the same. It's just got a nicer top. So I'll close this guy off right here and leave this one open. Save changes to it. No. All right. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start off by setting you up with your document. Okay, that's the very first thing that I did. So I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to go New Document. And then when I get the New Document dialog box, eventually, come on, what are you doing? Where are you? There it is. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make sure that the width is set. It's actually backwards, so because it's the landscape. I want it to be, you know, vertical, not horizontal, portrait. So I click on this. The width has got to be 8.5 inches by 11 inches, and there's going to be 8 pages. It's very important that you put 8 pages into this. Also, you see that little checkbox right there? Okay, you're making an 8-page magazine. You need facing pages. So you want to make sure that it doesn't look like this, okay? You want to make sure that facing pages looks like that. Then this way you will actually get facing pages. Very, very important. And of course you have to start this on page 1 because we're actually not doing a section of a book. If we were doing on a section of a book, I'm sorry, if we were doing a section of a book, we would start it at a particular page for that section, all right? But we are starting this from page 1, the beginning of the book, all right? Now, what I want to do here is I want to throw a wrinkle into this. There's columns here, and I'm going to automatically put 6, okay? And then what I did here for the column gutter is I put 025, very tiny column gutter, okay? Now, I can come in here and I can go to margins, and I can set my margins. And I think what I'm going to do for my margins, I'm going to set them at 0.5. I'm going to actually leave this at 0.5. That means that there's going to be a 1/2 inch all the way around for my margins. That gives me a little tiny bit of room to work with, like for things such as my master page items and whatnot, okay? Finally, the bleed and the slug. Now, this is more important than you might be aware of. And again, I don't know what you know about InDesign, but when you're producing something such as this book, you are going to be dealing with things that are called bleeds. And you are also going to be dealing with folds and things like that. So when you have an image that's going to go off the page, you actually have to establish the point at which it goes off to in order for it to be trimmed back, cut back, and fit the image fit across the page. So what generally you use for a bleed is 0.125 IN. That's actually the equivalent of 1/8 of an inch. So 0.125 IN, and then if this link is checked like it is, then it's going to give you that setting all the way around. So if I click on the bottom, can you see how it goes all the way around 0.125? That you want. And of course the slug, what you do with the slug, notice that I have the thing broken. Well, if you want, you could actually slug this. You could give it like I'm just going to put in 0.5 IN. That's a 1/2 inch of a slug all the way around it. And what that slug primarily is, it's an area that is outside the actual printed piece where in the end, when you put instructions to the printer, when you create your PDF, that's essentially where that goes on that slug. Okay, so those are the settings. All right. I'm making it 6 columns, and the reason I'm making it 6 columns is because I want you to see what it looks like, and I want you to see how easy it is for you to modify it. All right, and then I gave you 0.25 IN, and then of course I've given you a bleed of 0.125 IN, 1/8 of an inch, and 1/2 inch slug. I'm going to hit create, and there is my page. Now look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they all look the same. Okay. Now, if I look at this, I say to myself, okay, but 6 columns, Bill. I mean, let's be serious. Can't possibly use 6 columns. Well, of course you can't use 6 columns. I did this because I just wanted to show you how easy it is for you to change things if you decide you want to change something. So I'm on the cover right now. And I know that I don't need columns at all on the cover, all right? So if I go to the layout, where it says layout in the menu item, you can see right here it says margins and columns. I'm going to click on that, and the margins and columns come up right here. And I don't need any columns on the front cover at all because I'm going to make it one big thing. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it to 0 or 1. No, 0. Yeah, 1. That's what it is, 1. I don't even need that, okay? So I've gone from 6 to 1, and I'm going to hit OK, and now I've corrected my cover. You don't have to do this. I mean, you really don't. The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to do things that gives me the ability to show you some of the ways that you can manipulate the gridding of your page, all right? So let's go to this one right here. Again, I have the back. I happen to know that the back is going to be one gigantic ad. The whole thing is going to be one big ad. So again, I'll go to the layout, and I'm going to go margins and columns, and I'm going to set this to 1 again, and I'm going to set that to 0 and hit OK. So now my front and my back, there are no columns. There are basically just one big column. So now that leaves me with the inside spreads. Now, you don't have to worry about page 3, page 4, 5, 6, but you do have to worry about page 2 and page 7 right now. If you want, you can wait and you can change those later if you decide to put the 6 on it. All right? But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose page 2, and I'm going to go layout, and I'm going to go margins and columns. And I happen to know from experience of building my project that I need 3 columns. So I'm going to make this, as a matter of fact, you see, since I selected spread, I'm actually getting them on both. So really, you know, don't worry about that. I chose a spread, and it's applying this setting to the spread. Also, if you take a look at that, those gutters are just nuts. They're way too small. I want something more like about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to change that to 125, and then I'm going to hit OK. And now I have something that I think works much better. I got 3 columns, and I got a nice little gutter between the columns. That to me is perfect. So you know what, just so I don't confuse you, once again I'm going to click on the spread, not the page. As a matter of fact, you know what, let me do this. Instead this time, let me click on the page and you'll see what I'm talking about. Let me click on this. Okay, now let me click on 7. Now let's see if this works. I'm going to go layout, margins and columns, and I'm going to change that down to 3. Yeah, look, see what's happening? Since I chose just the page, not the spread, this is applying to just the page. It's important that you understand this. So now I have 3 columns here. I still have 6 columns here. And the only reason I'm showing you this is because I want you to understand how these things work. I don't want you to, you know, I want to be able to show you things. That's what this is all about. And again, I'm going to change the gutter from 025 to 125 and hit OK. And now I have my pages. This is the page that I'm concerning myself with right here. This is the other page. So it's page 2 and page 7. Okay? So I'm going to save this. I'm just going to save this as, I'm just going to call it build. All right, because I'll know what that is and hit save. All right, now, so when you talk about gridding, this is the first step in the grid. Okay, these are actually columns, and columns and rows make up grids. So this is part of your gridding system. This is a grid. That's a grid. All right, the next part is I'm going to go to the edit menu, and I'm going to go to preferences. Okay, preferences, and I'm going to go to grids. All right, grids. Now what I'm going to do is, let me show you. I have a baseline grid. I've set up a baseline grid. My settings are 0.5 inches from the top of the page. I'm going to increment every 10 points, and the view threshold will be 75%. Now, if you take a look at my baseline grid, the base one, it's 12. I want it to be 10 because I happen to know I'm going to be using 10 points. So I'm going to hit 10, and I'm just going to make sure grids are in the back. And that's all you really have to do here is set up your baseline grid to be incrementing at every 10 point. And then, of course, the view threshold is 75%. And then you hit OK. And now you've basically got a setting for your baseline grid. If you want to play with your baseline grid, go to your paragraphs panel. And if you take a look down at the bottom here, do not align to baseline grid. Align to baseline grid. So I'm establishing, to begin with, I'm aligning things to the baseline grid. At some point, if I choose to take a block of copy out of the realm of the baseline grid, I simply click here, and that takes it off the baseline grid. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. That's basically how you work with the baseline grid. You establish it, edit preferences and grids, and you go into the baseline grid and you establish it, all right, 10 point, and then 75. That's basically, I just don't mess with that. Hit OK. But what's most important is in the paragraph panel, you can either align to baseline grid or you can remove the element from aligning to the baseline grid. And that will happen. I do that frequently. There are times when I want to move a block of copy to a different position that I can't get while it's aligning to the baseline grid. So I will click that block of copy, and I will go into paragraph, and I will click on this, and it will release that block of copy from the baseline gridding and allow me to move it around and get a better positioning. So when you work with baseline grid, it's important for you to understand that you don't have to use it for every single thing. You can use it for part of things. All right? All right, so we've got that far. Now, before we go any further with this, what I want to do is I want to deviate, and I want to take a look at a couple of things because I want to explain some stuff to you. It's very important that we do this. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go to DES-243, and I'm going to go into my week 1 folder. Now, I have the main ingredient magazine. Here's the main ingredient magazine, okay? Because that's what I chose. That's what I actually chose, the main ingredient magazine. All right, so we have the main ingredient flag. And if I double click on this, these are our flags. And if I open up let's see if I can open up Adobe Illustrator real quick, and I'm going to also open up Photoshop because I want to show you how this works. This is kind of important. They supply you with Adobe Illustrator files. Now, you can actually use Adobe Illustrator files in InDesign. InDesign will recognize and place an Adobe Illustrator file. I don't want you to do that. The reason I don't want you to do that is because it's incorrect. It's not what you really want to send to your printer in the end. And it's better and more professional for you to go ahead and, let me put this aside because we'll use this next. Let me get this thing shut down. Bear with me. Come on, you. Okay. File, open. Okay, so I got black flag, flag background, white, flag white background. Just because it's easier to see, I'm going to open up flag back background. Flag black background. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this right here is your the title of your magazine, and you're going to use this on the cover. I'm going to file open because I also use the black flag or flag black that way on the inside. All right, now both of these are AI files, and that's an AI file, and both of them are black. So you don't have to worry about colors on these things. But what you do want to do is you want to create a file format that will work in print. There are two very specific file formats that will work in print. You can either choose an Adobe PDF file, or you can choose an encapsulated PostScript file, an EPS file. Both of those files are the correct files for you to use if you are creating artwork for print. So in other words, I don't want to just use these AI files. So now I got this guy right here. I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to go Save as Copy, and I am going to leave it right here. See how I got EPSs there? Okay. That's the EPSs that I used in my project. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one EPS and one PDF so that I can show you how I do it. Because those are what you're going to want to do when you're getting to the point where you're going to use either the flag black, or the background, or the white flag, the flag white, or the white background. Whatever you choose for your project, you're going to do this with. So here I'm going to leave it flag black. I'm going to leave it, I can take the copy off if I want. Actually, you don't even need that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, and you see right here you have either PDF, all right, or you have EPS. I'm going to choose EPS on this one, okay? And then I'm going to hit, it's going to end up putting it right by where these other files are. And notice that when you put it as an EPS, there's no other EPSs in there. There's only 3 AI files. So they go away. And you see this folder. If I go in that folder, you're going to see other EPSs because that's where I put them. And I put them there specifically so that they don't disrupt my layout in InDesign. And I'm going to create a new one here. So I'm going to hit Save, and I get my EPS options dialog box. And you have actually got versions here. Pretty much you're going to leave it to CC EPS, but there always is the chance that you may have a printer who doesn't have CC. Maybe the printer has CS6. And if you find out that the printer has CS6 and not CC, then what you're going to do is you're going to choose CS6. You get this right here, okay, which is an alert telling you that it will no longer work. Well, I don't know, what does it say? Oh, saving to a legacy format may cause some changes to your text layout and disable some editing features when the document is read back in. Also, any hidden appearance attribute. So in other words, it's telling you there's a warning involved with doing this. I'm not going to do this because I don't need to do it, but I'm just telling you you can do it. I'm going to come back to CC EPS. Now again, you would do this only if your printer tells you that they have an older file and they can't accept the CC, okay, Creative Cloud. Now, preview format, you've got none, you've got TIFF, and you've got TIFF 8-bit color. This could be TIFF black and white, this could be TIFF none, but actually in this particular case, since it is just black and white, 8-bit color is just fine. You can leave it just the way it is. You don't have to go to black and white. You can if you want, okay, because it is black. But here's the thing. If you go black and white, you'll notice that this thing gets deactivated. Whereas if you come in here, TIFF 8-bit color, this becomes activated. And you see how that's set to opaque right there? If you want this white background, okay, then you're going to choose opaque. If you want it to be transparent, then you're going to choose this guy here. I'm going to leave it opaque because I want it to be black and I want it to be white. I'm going to leave this alone. This, you don't need to embed these fonts because, to be honest with you, those are no longer fonts. Those are probably, if I close this out, which I'm not going to do, I would find out that this has been outlined. So there's no fonts involved in this. So I can remove all of that. And if it were fonts, I wouldn't do this. But because I know it's not a font, I will do it. And I hit OK, and I've just saved that as an EPS file. That EPS file, see how I click that and you see how that letter comes up? That means that that's been outlined. So I just want you to know these things. It's important. I'm going to go to my black flag. Let's go to my black flag background, and I'm going to go File, Save as Copy, and I'm going to remove this now. And notice that when I do this and I change it to PDF, everything goes away again. And the reason everything goes away again is because there are no PDFs in there. This will be the only PDF in there, okay? And I'm going to hit Save. And here comes my PDF dialog box. I am going to use Illustrator default on this because it's a piece of art. Your choices are, do you want to preserve Illustrator editing capabilities? You can leave them alone, and then essentially what you're doing is you're making a file that can be opened back up into Adobe Illustrator, and you can edit it as though it were an Illustrator file. You could even convert it back to an Illustrator file if you want to do that. If I click this off, then what you're doing is you're compressing that file, making it so that you can't edit it any longer. All right, so really I usually leave this alone unless I have some particular reason that I want to do this. I want to show you marks and bleeds real quickly. There are no printer marks being selected here, and I'm going to deselect Use Document Bleed Settings because I don't need any bleed settings and I don't need any printer's marks. This is a logo that's going to be used on a page, so I don't want any marks on it that would interfere with that. Later on, when you finish your project and you send it in for submission, you're going to want to put marks and bleeds on it. And I'll show you how that gets done. You probably won't do it for the first go-around because the first go-around is only one layout. It's not a finished book. But in the end, when you submit this as a PDF, you're going to put marks and bleeds on it. Okay? So no printer's marks and no document bleeds. Go back to General. I'm going to leave Preserve Illustrator Editing Capabilities alone. I leave it at Illustrator Default, and I'm going to hit Save PDF. All right? Now, I'll minimize this, and I'll note in here that, look, I have an Adobe Acrobat, all right, or let me open it up and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? We have, let me open this one too. There we go. So I have there's your Acrobat document, your PDF, and this is your encapsulated PostScript. Why I'm showing you this is because, again, both of those file formats are what you would use in a print project such as this. If you are working on something for the web, you would either use a JPEG file or a PNG, a PNG file, all right? Now, I'm not going to go over them tonight because we're working on print, but it's very important for you to understand that you can choose either one of these two. Either one of them would be perfectly fine, just as long as you basically do what I did when I created each one of them. Very important, okay? Nobody's here, so I don't have any way that I can ask questions, but like I told you before, I'm open to have you call me. I'm open to have you send me an email. I'm also available in Blackboard. Look into your announcements. If you want to come and ask me about any of this, or if you want some additional assistance with it, feel free. All right, so that's all I need to show you about Adobe Illustrator. Again, I'm showing you this because it's critical that you understand how important it is for you to deal with this. This isn't something where you could just go in and drop an Adobe Illustrator file. If I see you do that, I'm going to mark you down, or what I'll do is I'll send you notice saying in order for you to get full credit, you have to adjust this, you have to fix this. I'm telling you this for a reason. So I'm going to expect to see you do these things. All right? So that is my Illustrator. Let's talk about Photoshop. So when you're working on pictures, and I happen to know, actually I should have stayed where I was for a second. Let me go back here. Okay, let's go back to week 1, and let's go to the main ingredient. And oops, mistake. Articles. There we go. And I want to talk about the editorial. Okay, so in the editorial, we got these 3 pictures here. Now, this is the these 2 pictures, I believe, came with it. And this picture here, I picked up. Now, if I open this thing up in Photoshop, which I'm going to do in a minute, or if I open this up in Photoshop, or this, all 3, see, it's a JPEG file. See it? It's a JPEG file. That's a JPEG file. That's a JPEG file. And frankly, in each case, these are the wrong color mode. Now, I'll explain that to you in a second. Watch. I'm going to go File, Open, and I'm going to open up the herbs first. Open it up. Okay, so there's my herbs picture. Here it comes. Okay, here comes my herbs picture. This is the picture. This isn't actually in my editorial article. This is in my TOC, my table of contents. And the reason I have it in here is because it actually, I built it along with the editorial article so I could figure out how to fit it. The first thing I want you to notice up here is that it says herbs.jpg at 16.7% in RGB. Okay, well, RGB means red, green, and blue. Red, green, and blue is perfectly good for the web. But red, green, and blue is not what we use for print. We use CMYK for the print. So one of the things that we're going to want to do is we're going to change the color mode on these pictures from RGB to CMYK. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to look at every picture that you're supplied. And you're going to need to verify that they are in CMYK. And if they are not in CMYK, you're going to have to convert them into CMYK. I am going to do these 3 pictures for you tonight so that you can see exactly how this gets done. And then it'll be up to you to do it with every other photo that you work with. It's critical that you understand how important it is to do this. Having the picture in the wrong color mode is not good. And you should also have it in the appropriate file format, which I'm also going to do. Okay? So let me bring that back and let's go into here. Okay, so I'm talking about file format. I'm talking about color mode. So let's do the first thing, which is to change the file format. Right now it's a JPEG. Don't think I want a JPEG. So I'm going to go File, I'm going to go Save As, and when I get my Save As dialog box, I don't have to change the name on this because I'm going to change the file format, and when I do that, there will be no interference. What I'm looking for is this guy right there. See where it says TIFF, T-I-F-F? Tagged Image File Format. That is the type of file that you use for print. So when you change this from a JPEG to go into a print document produced by Adobe InDesign, you want to choose the TIFF file format. Now they say you can also use the PDF format. However, I prefer to use the TIFF format. So I'm going to use TIFF and I'm going to hit Save and I'm going to get this. Now as far as compression is concerned, what you could do is you could choose like zip compression. It's not supported in older TIFF readers, and saving this may take more time. Use zip compression. That's what I did. Yes, okay. IBM PC, Macintosh. I'm on a PC, so just leave all this alone. You could also use JPEG compression if you want. Okay. I'm going to stay with zip. All right, zip compression. Now, why am I compressing this? In this particular case, I am compressing this because you have to send it to me, and you want to keep the file a little bit smaller. This will make the file a little bit smaller, so it's important for you to do that. So I hit OK. Now, look, here's what I want you to note right away. It says herbs.tiff. Absolutely important that you look for that and make sure that it's no longer saying tiff.jpg. It's got to say herbs.tiff. That's important. It's still in RGB. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish this. We're going to go to the image menu and we're going to go to mode and we're going to come down to where it says RGB. Right beneath it, it says CMYK, and we're going to let go, and it's going to say you are about to convert to CMYK, and you're going to hit OK. Now, your herbs is a TIFF, and it is in CMYK. So you can go File, Save, and it'll save it. And you can close it. And if you go into editorial, you'll see a TIFF. There's your TIFF. There's your JPEG. There's your TIFF. You don't want to use the JPEG. You want to use the TIFF. So what I'm going to do for you, so I got two more here. I'm going to do those two so that you can actually see me do these two. And then hopefully you'll have enough knowledge that you'll know how to do it. It's really not that difficult, but it is very important that you do it. It's really that important. So let's go File, Open. And let's do the next one, which is the Mindful one, and hit Open. All right, and again, this is mindful.jpg RGB. So those are the things that you're looking for. So step number one, go to File and go Save As. And then you're just going to call that Mindful one and change it from JPEG to TIFF and hit Save. Not hard. Leave it at zip compression. Hit OK. Go to Image Mode. Change it from RGB to CMYK and hit OK. And then just File, Save. And if this comes up, see the JPEG options? Make sure that you have it all the way over to the right and it's reading 12 maximum. Very important that you do that too. So be on the lookout for the JPEG options to pop up. And if it does, quality should be 12 and it should say maximum. If it's something like this when it pops up, you're just going to drag the slider over, okay, until it reads 12 maximum and then hit OK. And then you can close this one and that one's done. And let's do the last one and then you'll be pretty much okay. Let's go Open and let's go to Mindful 2 and hit Open. Once again, mindful.jpg and of course RGB. There are problems. You're going to find that all the pictures that you get will probably be in RGB and they will probably be in JPEG format. If they are in anything other than the JPEG format, you know, like if it's already in a TIFF, which I doubt it'll be, I think they'll be in JPEGs. You can, if it's a TIFF, you can leave it alone. You can just change it from RGB to CMYK. It's really important, though, that you look up here because it's telling you the information that you're looking for. It's a JPEG and you're in RGB. So 2 steps, simple. Just go in and you're just going to go Save As. Where are you at? There we go. Save As and change it from JPEG down to TIFF and hit Save. Okay. Our zip is probably good. Hit OK. And then go Image Mode RGB. Change it to CMYK. Hit OK. And then look, mindful.tiff. And then, of course, CMYK. And it's saving. When it saves, when it gets done saving, it'll hit 100. Give it a second to save. It's at 50 now, almost 50, right there. We're saving. Sometimes it takes a minute for this to save. Depends on your computer. Ooh, it's taking a long time on this guy. Just be patient with it. You know, it's going to happen, and you're just going to have to watch and wait. Pay attention to what you're doing. That's really what it comes down to, is that you pay attention to what you're doing. All right. So now my pictures are all ready for me to use in my layout. That's the important thing. Now, actually, I have another picture here somewhere. Let me see where that is. Let me see. I think it's in, let me go back to this here. Let's go to week 2. Is it in week 2? Images week 2. See all these images? All these images are images that I got from the site. There's only 1 or 2 images that came with the project. The rest of this I went online and got from one or the other sites. Some of these you might even remember from the site when we looked at it. So that's why I'm saying I actually went in and grabbed a bunch of images to make my artwork look better. So you're going to want to do that too. That's why I wanted you to get that. Let's see here. Where are you at? See, there's my images that I chose for the ad that I did. Let's go back. I guess it's, where did it go? Let me see here. Good God. Where are you? Oh, where was it? Let me see. Hold on here. Baseline grid. Where were you? Where did I put it? Feature images. Here it is. Let's see what that is. Hold on. There's one more. I think it's that guy right there. Okay. See there. That one's already been converted to a TIFF file. That's the other image that I used in my layout. Okay, so I don't have to do this one because I already did it. That would have been just the same thing. I already did it already. I think it's in here. There, see, that's the JPEG. See, there's the JPEG file right there. See where it says JPEG when I open it up? That's the JPEG file. I converted that the exact same way. That's being used in my layout. Okay, so I'm going to get out of here. All right, so this is done. I can close this, save it, yes. And now you know what I know about the pictures. This here is your editorial copy. I just wanted to quickly show you this before I actually start doing my layouts. This is the copy, and you'll find that as a link. There's your headline, Becoming a Mindful Eater. Here is your byline. They call that a byline. Why? Because it's by. So it's by James Jackson. That's your byline. And you have to set up a style for byline. And you have to set up a style for your headline. And then, of course, this is your body copy. Now, all of this has been formatted. See, this is Calibri 12. This is Calibri. It's all Calibri 12. But there's a problem with this. When they set this up, and the reason I'm even bringing this out to your attention is to save you a whole lot of headaches when you start producing your piece. Now, how you can avoid that headache is by this. Each one of these paragraphs has an extra return in it. So if I place my cursor in front of the weather and I hit the backspace, it moves it up and it takes that extra return out. Okay? I'll do the same thing with eating. I'm going to hit the backspace and it takes that extra return out. Now, you don't want that extra return. What you want to do is, this is a return right here. Okay, so this is, or I should say, yeah, it's a paragraph return. When you set that paragraph return there, if you want space, you either choose space after by selecting here and putting space after as a paragraph style, or you could put space before here. One way or the other, you're adding space to between your blocks of copy. You don't do it by extra returns. So what I recommend that you do is each time you have one of these articles, before you import it, come in and just backspace, select in front of each one of these paragraphs and hit backspace and go down through the entire thing and remove all the extra space, because you don't want it. This has also got extra space, but you know what? You could probably deal with this. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm removing it. I'm removing all of the extra spacing, okay? Because I want to be able to put that extra spacing in myself. So I highly recommend that you take a second to do that. Now you'll notice that there's no extra spacing here, but there is here. And I'm going to remove all of it. I'm going to go right down through it, and I'm going to remove all of that extra spacing, and I'm going to hit save. And now I've saved it. If you look at this, there are returns and all, but the spacing is gone. And that's good because I can go in and I can format this with the spacing that I want. Okay? So that's something that you should do with this. And when you get into your other article, the 4-page master article, I would expect you to do the same thing with that. And in a little while, I'll show you exactly why I did that. But you should do this. It's no big deal. It's very easy to do, and you should do this. All right? So now I'm going to go back to my building here, and I have my 3 columns open, and I have my build open. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to go to my layers panel, and I'm going to hide my TOC. Now, the reason I'm hiding the TOC is because you're not doing this tonight. You're not doing this week. But I want you to be aware that you are going to do it. And it's probably a really good idea for you to prepare to do it. So I'm going to show you how I approach this. You see my little guide right there? There's my little guide. And my guideline is locked. Let me click on it. There's my guide. Okay, there's my guide. And if you take a look here, I think it's at 5.0833. Let me just go 5.5, and let's see if that moves it. And hit. It did. You see it moved it? Edit, undo. There, it did it and moved it. So it's 5.0833 is where I put it approximately. You might want to make a mental note of that, and I'll tell you why you might want to make a mental note of it. Because if you want to design your page similar to mine, then that's about where you're going to need to go to fit that copy right there. So it's basically a guideline that's been placed at 5.0883 IN. That's basically the space that you need for this. Now the rest of this is just 3 columns. So let's actually go in and let's start doing that. All right, so I am going to be working on this page right here. Oh, by the way, I mentioned this to you before, and I'm going to do it because I need to do things as I said I would do. I'm going to set up 4 layers. Okay. Layer 1 is going to be a background layer. B-A-C-K-G-R-O-U-N-D, background. And hit OK. And then layer number 2 is going to be guides. G-U-I-D-E-S, guides, and hit OK. Layer number 3 is going to be text, T-E-X-T. And then OK. Layer number 4 is going to be images, I-M-A-G-E-S. S there. Okay, so I got 4 layers. The reason I got 4 layers is because I like to have different layers with different objects on different layers. I think it just makes it a whole lot easier for me when I am working on you know, my graphics to put them on a layer, my text, put it on a layer, my guides, put it on a layer, and then if I have a background, put it on a layer. This way I can hide certain layers and I can make things happen. Now let me show you what I'm going to do here. There's your rulers. If you don't have your ruler shower, go to the view menu and come down to where it says mine is saying hide rulers. If I hide it, that's what it looks like with no rulers. So if your InDesign opens up and you don't see rulers here and here, you're going to go to the view menu and you're going to go show rulers. There's your rulers. Now your guides come from your rulers. Your guides can come from here and they can come from here. Okay? So there are your guides. I'm going to delete that one. This guide right here though, okay, I had a very specific position for that. Watch. Come in here and click on this guy. Actually, it's already selected. And if you'll give me a second, I'm going to write down 5.0833. Okay? And now I'm going to go back to build. And you see how I got my guide selected. I click on it, and you see it highlights. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to type in 5.0833. And then I'll click in the X, and you see it drops right down to that position. Perfect. Okay? So, I mean, if you're going to do this, if you're going to do this area at the top like I did, then you're going to want to do that. All right, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I get into this any further. I'm going to open up my my pages panel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish my master page elements. So I'm going to double click on my master page. Okay, now my master page is set to be 6 columns, and I happen to know that my 3, 5, and 7 I'm working with page number 2, and I'm working with page number 7. So what I want to do is I want to go up to my layout menu, and I'm going to margins and columns, and I want to change this from 6 to 3, and then I want to change that from 0.0125 to 125 and hit OK. And now my master page has the exact same margins and columns as my 2 pages I need. And as a matter of fact, because I did this on a master page, and the master page are controlling all the page, I might even have them on every page now. Let's see. Let's go to this page, and you see how that's now got that size and that size. Let's see if it does on these. Yeah, see how it changed it? It changed it on all of them, which is great, because that's what that master page is supposed to do. All right. Now this, unfortunately, I have this on the wrong page. So actually, if I wanted to, if I'm not mistaken, I can go edit cut. Yeah, and I can go to page 2, which is the page that it's going to appear on, and go edit paste in place. And there it is now paste in the proper position. Okay? Now let's go back to the master page. I'm going to go back to the master page again and double click on the A master. And what I want to do is, there's my 3 column. I have November 2017, and I have page number 3. All right. So we go back to here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my type tool, and I'm going to drag myself a little frame that's about like that. Okay. And I'm going to type November, 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 and then 2017. Now, for some crazy reason, I seem to have wingdings selected, and it come out as wingdings. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, and I think I was using Gotham. Yes, exactly what I was using. Now, I don't remember what size I used, so let me go back to this, and let me click on it, and let's see. Oh, I got to go to the master page. Go to the master page. Yeah, and I can click on that, and it is 12/15. So it is 12 point. Yeah, so it is 12 points. So that's okay. Then all I want to do with this is I want to bring it down, and I want to get it right down to the bottom of the page. Okay, this is going to go way down towards the bottom of the page, probably even outside, right about there will do. That's good. I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste in place. Okay, and I'm going to hold down the shift key and use my right arrow on the keyboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that over all the way to the other side. And if I want, go to the paragraph panel, not the paragraph styles, but the paragraph, and I have this set to left align. I'm going to set it to right align. And now the thing is aligned to the right side of the box, and I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to close this off, get my zoom tool so we can come in here and see what I'm doing. Okay, and also notice that as I zoom in, can you see now where your baseline grid is showing? There's your baseline grid. The actual baseline grid is on. It's on and functioning. It's just that you don't see it until you zoom way in. All right, now what I want to do is I want to set this up to be for paging. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in, how do I want to do this? P-A-G-E. Let's try lowercase page, space. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the object menu, type, here we go. Insert special characters, markers, and what I want is next page number. Okay? And I believe that's what I want. Yeah, I believe so. File save. And let's see what we get when we come in here. Let's go to this page. Let's go view, fit page in window, or fit spread in window. Let's see if that works. I'll go to page 1. And yes, page 1. Let's go to page 2 and 3. And see, I don't have anything over here. So November 2017 and page 3 is over here. That's your master page. I did not put it on that page right there. Watch when I go to 4 and 5. I did not put it on that side. I only put it on that side. There's my November. There's my page 5. Go to 6 and 7. There's November. And there's page 7. And page 8, it's not on because it is not on that particular side, which represents that page right there. However, it's on page number 1. And now number 1 is going to be my cover. So you don't put any kind of page numbering or the November 2017 there, because I'll have it somewhere else. So how do I get rid of that? Really simple. You have a master here, which is the A master that you applied this to. You also have this thing sitting here that says none. And if you click on that, and if you drag none and drop it right on top of that page, it goes away. So essentially what we've done is we've removed that master and applied none to it. So you no longer have that number on the cover. Okay? So basically, there you go. Let's go to the view menu and let's go to screen mode. We have this set to normal. Okay, we're good. All right, so there we go. We have this. Let's go back to our page 3, because page 3 is what we're going to be working on. All right, so I hope you have no trouble understanding how to deal with master pages. You just basically select on the master page, and then what you can do is you can apply whatever you want to your master page. I could have put the number, I could have put the page number over here, and I would have had the page number showing on both sides. I chose not to do that. The whole point of a master page is whatever you put on the master page will appear on every page in that position, and that's why you do it. I only wanted November and page numbering on the one side of each of my spreads, so that's why I did that. All right, now the next thing that we're going to do, let's go back to my page 2 and page 3. I'm on page 3. What I want to do now is I want to prepare myself to bring text in. So that means that I'm going to have to create some text frames. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off by getting a type tool. And I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to place my cursor anywhere. It doesn't really matter that much where I place the cursor, as long as you place it basically on the margin. And then I'm going to drag it all the way down until I reach the bottom, right about here. Right about there is good. Okay? And now I've placed a text frame. Okay? There's my first text frame. Now, to make this thing really easy for yourself, I'm just going to go edit copy, and this is legitimate. You can do this. It's no problem. And then edit, paste in place. And now I have a second text frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk that second text frame over until I get it situated in that center column right there. Boom. And then I'm going to go edit copy again. Edit, paste in place. And then I'm going to use my right arrow again. And the right arrow, the arrows are in the lower right corner of your page. There's an up, down, left, and right arrow. I'm using the right arrow to walk it over into position. There we have it. Okay? So now I have my 3 text frames. So I'm going to go to my next layout, which is on page 7. Okay, now watch what happens. I'm going to go edit, paste in place. There. Now it actually placed it in the center section there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk it over until it's in the first column. Let me bring it over until it's in the first column. Let me keep going a little bit more. There. And then I'm going to go edit, paste in place again. And now I have my second column. Okay, so on my first page here, I got 3 columns. On my second, I got 2. I'm going to go edit, paste in place again. And this time, I'm going to walk it over. And I have all columns on the 2 pages that I'm about to create. That's the first step. Now, the second step is I need to link these together. It's very important that the text flow from column to column, from page to page. So I need to link these text frames together. Now, if you notice down here, there's that little square there. You see that little square? If you click on that, your cursor changes to that, which is a link indicator. And when you click on the text frame next to it, it links those text frames together. Let's go to the view menu and let's go to structure and let's, where are we at here? Hold on. Show structure. Where are we at? Type. Where is view? extras, text threads. There we go. View extra. Let's go to the view menu, extras, then show text threads. Okay, so look, see what it does? It shows you how you're threading these text frames together. I'm going to click on this guy, and again, my cursor loads, and I go over top of that frame, and I click, and I get a text frame. I'm going to click on this one, and I load it. Now, we are going to this page. We are jumping from page 3 to page 7. So I'm going to double click on page 7, and I'm going to click on the first text frame. And it's hard to see, but that is actually dragging a line from there to there. That's showing me that that's jumping from page to page. I hope you're getting this and you're understanding this, because this isn't that difficult. All I'm doing is I'm attaching these text frames together, so when I place text in them, the text is going to automatically flow from place to place to place, and then I'm going to be able to start working on the formatting and the fixing up of this text. So I'm at this point right here. I'm going to click here, load it again, click, and now I've connected those two frames. I got one more left. Click, click, and all of my text frames for this particular story have been connected. The text is going to flow through all of these pages. I'm going to go back to the first page, and I'm going to place my cursor in that first text frame. I'm going to go to editorial, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to choose Become Mindful of Eating Master by James Jackson. Before I do this, though, let me just do one thing. I think actually I might have made an error here. Let's go to, nope. Where am I at here? I'm that. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so no, I'm not. I'm okay. I'm all right. That's fine. Yeah, we're good. All right, so let me go back to this. All right, so I click on this, place my cursor in there, got my type tool. I'm about to put text in. Go to editorial. I don't want that Become a Mindful Eating Master by James Jackson. I don't want that. I want the rest of it. So I'm going to actually click, and I'm going to drag through all that copy, come all the way down to the end. And I'm going to go copy it. Okay? And then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go edit, paste. And there it is. Unfortunately, once again, for some strange reason, I got wingdings. So I'm going to fix that by going Command A. All right, actually, I got to click in it, and then go Command A. Let's see, Command A. There we go. I select all of it. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to choose Gotham. Now, if I deselect this, you can see all of my copies in here. So if I go to my page panel, look it. Okay, see the page goes all the way from here, all the way around to here. Okay, so I have all of my text in there. Now, it isn't formatted or anything like that. I'm just putting the copy in. But my next step now is to actually go in and start formatting this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remember that I put that guide right there. So I'm going to actually take these frames, and I'm going to start dragging those frames down until I get just a little bit below that guide, right about there. And as a matter of fact, I'll probably drag another guide out. Oh, and by the way, I just want to show you this. Before I was telling you, if you take this guide, if I drag this guide here, look at the guide. See what the guide's doing? The guide is going from, it's going right across both pages. It's going from the spread. Look at all the way across. Okay? I'm going to delete that because I don't want that. But I want this guide to just be on the one page. To get it on one page, what you're going to do is you're just going to drag that thing onto the page. To bring it onto the spread, you do that. Onto the page, you do that. Okay? Now, this is part of the process of gridding and understanding how one goes about gridding. Okay? Very important. So basically, I'm getting rid of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring these frames, I'm going to bring them down to that guide. Okay? And I'll bring this one down to the guide. This one's actually going to go lower, but I'm getting it down to the guide. Now coming in here, you can see what's happening is I've got this copy, and this copy is oversetting. And there's a reason that this is oversetting. The reason it's oversetting is because it's 12-point type. And if you come in here and you check at mine, mine is 11-point type over 14, and this is 12 over 15. So that's why when I get to the back page there, I have overset text. Okay? It's very important for you to understand these things. And I will correct all this stuff eventually. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. Right now, I'm just basically, and once you start designing this thing, you'll figure all this out. Oh, and by the way, I see I missed a return here. So let me fix that. Click on that, and let's hit backspace and get rid of that return. Okay, so let's go back to the front page, and let's do a little bit more work up on the front page. I have this element right here. Okay, this element is basically a rectangular shape. Now it starts at the top there, and it comes down. It looks to me like it comes down. It's got a width of, or a height of 4.1125. Now let's see if I can do this. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to drag this thing down. Let me drag this guy. Get that. There we go. Let me drag this thing way down. Okay, and let me come in here, and let me just create a frame. I'm just going to create a little old frame just like that, right about like that. And I'm just going to go to the height, and I'm going to change the height from 1.9444 to 5.0833. I believe that was what it was, wasn't it? Let me see. No, I'm sorry, 4.11. 4.11. Let me fix it. 4.1125. And let's click there. And there we have it. That's good. So now I'm going to bring that down. Whoop, oh, nope. That's not what I wanted. Let me fix it. Drag it back. There we go. Okay, I want it to go down. There we go. I want it to go down. Okay, almost there. Right there. Okay, so now I have that. And what I'm going to do with this, and just let's get back to our layers for a second, because I have all my text, all this text stuff, all this stuff is on my image layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully select all three of those text frames like this, and I'm going to move them down to the text layer. That's all I did. Now notice when I do that, the colors change because it's blue on the image layer and it's green on the text layer. So I'll go to my last page right here and go back to my layers, and I'll select that. All right, I'll actually drag across to select all of them, and I'll do the same thing again. Drag them down to the text layer. Now watch what happens. When I hide the text layer, all the text goes away. Okay, so you see, I'm actually moving this around exactly the way I want it to be moved around. If I go to the front page, there's this page. If I come back to my layers, and if I hide the text layer, okay? Now the guides, I think the guides are also on the wrong layer. They're on the image layer. I'm going to bring them down and put them on the guides layer. Now if I hide the guides layer, you see them go away, all right? It looks like I got, no, that's a frame. Okay, we're good. Yeah, so there's my guides. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this frame right here. I'm going to bring my colors up. And I don't have the colors in here that I want. So what I'm going to do is, let's see whether I have them. No, those are not my colors. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to create a tiny little sample of that red. Just going to create a tiny little sample of that red by doing this. There we go. Come on, you. What did I get to? Oh, All right, let me try it again. I'll try it one more time. Oh, you know what? I can do it here. That's what I want. There's my color theme. There we go. Boom. There's my color red. And I'm going to go edit cut. And then I'm going to go to my layout, and I'm going to go edit paste. There, and now I have my little color. And if I want to keep that color, I can just come to my swatches. There it is. It's right in there. So if I hit delete on that, I still got my color. Click on that shape right there, apply that color. All right, so now I have my little area that I'm using for my identity, my subhead, or my headline is going to go in here. I'm going to create another text frame in here, and I'm going to drag it out about like that. That's good. And this time what I'm going to do is, I think this was like around, I think 24 point. And that, let's go to the editorial. And I believe that is the Become a Mindful Eating Master. Okay? And then we're going to copy it. And I'm going to paste it, Control V. And once again, I get this crazy wingdings because for some reason or other it's set for wingdings, but that's okay. I can just come up in here, change it to Gotham. And I think this time I use Gotham bold. Yep. And I think I made the alignment right instead of that. And let's take a look here and see how close I am. Actually, I think I'm medium italic 24/30. Okay, so I can change the modifications of that. So that's medium italic 24/30. And for some strange reason, I think it's because I used caps, didn't I? Nope. Why is that looking different? Medium italic 24/30 Gotham. Well, it looks funny. It's odd. It looks different. Gotham medium italic 24/30. All right. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's basically the same thing. It works. It's a subhead. It'll work for me. And I changed the color to white. I want the color to be white. White in InDesign is paper. So there you have that. So you can see I'm getting somewhere with this. I'm beginning to get somewhere with this. Now, if you go back to this again, you'll see that what I did here was I actually have I know what the problem is. I see why it looks funny. This thing here doesn't come all the way over to here. This thing should come all the way over to that. That right there is that's the trim. That's the trim. This thing here is where, I should say the fold. This is where it folds. This is where it trims. This is the fold. Now, if I do this, what I can do with this is I can actually do one of two things. I can either select this and make it a little bit bigger. Let's go 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. That actually looks a little bit better. I think I'll go with the 28 on this. Unless, of course, it might be, let's go edit, undo. I think now that I think about it, there was a reason it was that size. Yeah, edit. Yeah, okay, there's a picture that's going to go in here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create an area for my picture, which is going to go like this. There's a picture going in here. I almost forgot. There we go. File, place. All right, so I create a frame. I create a frame that covers the lower portion of my field. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find my pictures. Let's see if I can find my articles. Articles, the main, let's see here. Ingredient, articles. I think it's in editorial. Nope, let's go articles. It's in feature. There it is. And hit herbal plant hands and hit OK. There it is. And now it comes in and it comes in very big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just in the middle here. You see there's a little targeting button right there? There's my targeting button. I'm going to click on this, and by clicking on it, what I get, let me do it again. Let's go to the view menu. Yeah, it is normal. Why am I not getting this thing? Why can't I see my edges on that? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Why is it doing this? Oh, I see. It is. It's here. There it is. I see it's yellow. All right. I'm going to hold the Shift key and the Alt key down, and I'm going to start bringing this thing down. There we go. And I'm going to bring it down until I reach about that point right there. Now, you can see there's yellow. There's plenty of yellow here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the picture over, and I'm going to get to about that point right there, and then I'm going to move it up. Okay? And if you go back to my column 3 article, you'll see it looks very similar to that. All right, now I noticed that it's 9:03. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. I'm going to go File, Save, and I am going to call it a night. Actually, what I'm going to do is one little thing, come down here and zoom in here, and I'm going to just adjust this frame slightly so it touches the bottom of that picture, that right there. And now I have what I want. Let's go to the View menu again, Fit Page and Window, and let's go to the View menu and let's go Screen Mode Preview. Okay, there is what we have so far. Like I say, it's 9:03 right now, so I'm going to call it a night. Tomorrow, I am going to come in. I will be here from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock a.m., and I will continue working on this project tomorrow from 9 to 12. I will get as much of this done as I possibly can. So I hope you enjoy watching. I will see you tomorrow between 9 and 12 a.m. in the morning. Have a good night.